Hello and welcome to another edition of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
Um, well,
You don't want to talk
I
about
don't want to
that.
talk about a certain baseball team right now. So we're going to talk about more exciting things than that. So
We are like another union loss now. I'm just kidding. No, we actually do have a fun episode today.
yes, we do.
Second time guest on the show. Was actually the highest rated. I still think he is. I gotta go back and look
I
again.
think quite
Possibly
possibly.
is still of our 105 episodes. It's still the highest viewed episode, and that's awesome. We're glad to have him on again. He is the voice of the Philadelphia Union broadcast, Mr. Dave Leno. Dave, how you doing today?
Kyle, Jillian, I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me again. This is the trifecta here. I know our Phillies, as of this podcast recording, couldn't pull it out in Game 3. Hopefully, they'll deliver in Game 4 and some late game heroics, maybe in 4 that will go into 5. You know me very well. I
Yeah.
would love to get the call for that, but I'm sure our buddy Scott Fransky, the radio voice of the Phillies, will have a great time, and hopefully they can be resilient and pull that one out. But it's a pleasure to be with you both, all the Union fans listening and watching.
So, before we get started, what are you wearing today, hon?
All right, I'm wearing a new shirt that I got from the sale at the team store at the last home game. Just a cream color Union shirt with the snake on it.
Is that the hand wash?
I don't think this one's hand wash. The Wild Collective one that I got that's cream colored that I really like and super comfy is hand wash, which yeah, that's a bummer. But and I have the jacket, the team like warm-up jacket. Got it for 50% off at the Adidas outlet in Lancaster back
Good too.
a few months ago.
And I am wearing a well, not vintage. It feels like vintage how long the season's been, but I'm wearing the Philadelphia Raccoon shirt. You know, Dave, you had a great call with the raccoon, so I thought I'd bring that out because that's one of my favorite calls of yours this year. So, Dave, what are you wearing?
Well, I got to say, Raquinho's like my adopted pet. Maybe that's we're thinking about maybe getting a dog down the line as our family continues to grow and we all get a little older. But right now we're putting that on hold. So I guess Raquinho's my adopted animal. So I remember that like it was yesterday calling that. I've got the long sleeve Union shirt on tonight. Wear this a lot on the road. The team dons this a lot during the road trips, and just being comfortable. I'm on the couch tonight. It's like our fireside chat talking Union. I have a question though. You guys have like the best gear. Like you have team stuff. You have stuff that's just for fan specific. What's the secret? How do you get the secret stash? What can Union fans know about getting all this impressive gear that you guys get? Is there not just you said the Lancaster area, not just at the Union shop? So what are your secrets to getting all this terrific gear?
Can I answer that real quick? And
Oh,
you
go
can
ahead,
give your
Kyle.
insight.
Yeah, go ahead, Kyle.
So my first part is like with this shirt, it's just going on social media and finding like local people that are doing like some fun art and then just supporting local artists. Like you'll see some of the guys like that are just do like I wouldn't call it bootleg, but just do only creative stuff for like Phillies, all the big teams, and they'll throw some fun stuff. So I saw this because Matt Ralph and a couple others reposted this and another Raccoon shirt, or I like to call it Wayne Raccoony shirts.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah. And so that's where I saw it. And I was like, oh, I need to get this one. But I also think the clearance, a lot of our stuff comes from clearance.
Yeah. So I like when there's like 20 or 25% off sales on like Fanatics or MLS store. I'll hit those up. Sometimes I've used Fan Cash a bit too. And so I rarely get anything that's like full price. I wait for it to go on sale. And the yeah, and like some things I've gotten a lot of stuff at the team store too, and using that season ticket member 10% off or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But you know, I wish I had like that 50% off that
yeah.
apparently some get. But I definitely buy too much stuff there, Kyle will tell you. But yeah, like you can find stuff at like Adidas outlets and stuff sometimes too. You can find good finds around.
And we've actually found stuff at Dick's locally that
Yeah.
like really highly discounted. Rally House.
Yeah.
I mean, I found
Rally House in my area, Bucks County, PA, has a lot of union gear, more so than the Dick's Sporting Goods in our area. And I
Yeah.
always say to the Dick's associates, I'm like, you guys got to get more union
Right.
gear. I mean, we've been one of the best MLS teams for several years now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fans of our club, but there's actually a rally house going up, another one, very close to me. So I'm be curious when that opens to see what their union selections like. I mean, look, using the online stuff, calling local artists. I know the union organization partners with a lot of local artists on their theme nights, like Hispanic Heritage Night recently, right?
Yep.
Right.
That artist actually banged the drum, one of our pre-match traditions. The Fearless 43 campaign, always honoring those kids and families who battle pediatric cancer. That is a game that's near and dear to all of our hearts. So shout out to you guys and everybody repping the union gear. I love, doing some chalk talk at Union Yards and making that walk from there that I often see you guys at, and going back to the booth and seeing all this different gear that I don't see in the team shop. Maybe it's somewhere online, or like I said, someone has a guy or a gal that can rep some cool swag. So really neat to hear that and see you guys always repping the good stuff.
Wow,
Yeah, thanks.
appreciate that.
And I'll tell you what, one that I've enjoyed too is MLS bootlegs.
Yes.
Yeah, like, and I've requested like, hey, can you make an Andre Blake shirt? Or they're like, yep, and they'll do that. And so I have a few of those.
Yep.
I have a
You and
Raquinho one
Jose
too.
have really worked well with him and just getting their stuff out there.
Yeah, so hopefully I've definitely bought like a whole bunch of theirs, so I like those too. And so yeah, I like having different things to wear on the podcast too.
That's for sure.
I don't repeat stuff very much.
So you guys have like in television, at all these high levels, they have like a wardrobe stylist. You don't need them because you got a closet full of union gear. You're set.
Yeah,
You
I have
save
so
some
much
money.
stuff.
Pay the talent. That's you two.
Well, yeah, we've always joked. It's like, can somebody at the union just start hooking us up? Because we'll wear this stuff every podcast.
Right,
Like, just start getting us like this stuff. Like, hey, here's the stuff you can wear coming out 40% off.
Yeah.
Yeah, we joke about that, but yeah.
Well, before you start a litany of questions, which I know is going to be fun, exciting.
Yeah.
I want to commend you both. And all your friends that cover the union. I know Todd, Jose, you mentioned Matt, Ralph, Jimmy King, others that are involved. You guys not only do it at home, you commit to several matches around your full-time schedules outside of soccer coverage, and you travel on the road too at your own expense. And I want to commend you both, because I did a lot of that on the broadcast side a lot in my career, which was very hard, when I was coming from Indiana and coming back to the Philly area and jump starting my career from essentially nothing. So I know everything you're doing. I know, what it takes to go on the road and the money that it costs and everything. And then also beyond that is the top-notch coverage that you both and your friends provide. And it's interesting. I've listened to several other people like in these press boxes, and you would think some of these bigger clubs that have gone on to winning MLS Cups, or maybe even has Messi or other things, you would think they would have like a college football team or an NBA team, 15, 20 media members, but they really don't. They might only have 2, 3, 4 dedicated daily, what I call beat people, but the union are very privileged. Yeah, we have some bigger newspaper reporters from the Inquirer and the Delco Times, and our friends Joe Tanzi and others that have been around the team for a long time. But then we have these upstart of journalists that are really covering the team on a daily basis, and on the blog sphere and online and podcasts. So just want to say thank you, just from the team's radio voice to you guys. And I think I can speak for the union organization and the players and the coaches and the staff involved, saying thank you for the time and dedication that you put in. I see it because I know you both were friends, behind the scenes, and just keep doing great work. Believe me when I tell you, from a broadcaster perspective, when you think you're reaching X amount of people, you're probably reaching that many more that you'll never hear and see from. So just remember that somebody's always reading your stuff, watching what you're doing, and just continue to have a great go at it. So keep it up.
I appreciate that, Dave, and you're right. It's been a labor of love for us. I mean,
Mhm.
and Todd will tell you the same thing. Jose will tell you this. Our goal has always been to educate, more maybe more so Todd, and that, but also we started this podcast because, like I've told you a million times, like this team meant something to us,
Mhm.
and we want to share those joys with people that maybe are like, hey, I've been to one or two Union games. Our main thing is like, hey, here's this team, come support them, and if you do, great. If you don't, okay, but at least show up, and even during the downtimes, like this year,
Mhm.
you see a lot of people just like, I can't do this anymore. And I get there's the emotional investment, and that's
Mhm.
fair. And it's okay to have those feelings. I mean, we certainly are all human. But this team still, the memories, the friendships, all
Mhm.
that stuff. And beyond that, just getting to know these players, like with the U2 coverage, even, and just
Mhm.
getting to know those billionaires, getting to talk to Marlon LeBlanc and getting to know his story and other people's stories outside that, you know, maybe don't get enough. Like Gavin Wetzel. Who's talked to Gavin Wetzel? And I'm not just saying that to toot our horns. What I'm saying is there's a lot of great stories in this organization. Jose does a great job. Todd does a great job. Jimmy does. There's a lot of us that are covering these stories
Mhm.
that maybe don't necessarily get picked up by, and that's not a knock on anybody, by the league, by maybe some of the bigger people covering the team. And again, it's not a knock on anybody, but we're trying to bring those stories to people, and that's really what you're saying, and the excitement and joy of being a fan.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I really appreciate the kind words, and it's really been, a blessing to do all of this and experience all this because, it has provided us with so many great experiences, getting to know so many people. We've made such good friends through this,
Yeah,
experience, going to the games and covering the team and traveling and doing all these things. We've gotten to know so many people, and it's just been a blessing.
it has.
Yeah, getting to
And
know yourself.
congratulations on hey, and your top, was it the top new, I want to say that correctly. So correct me if I'm wrong. Is it top new reporter, like with 3 years on the beat or less? Like
Yeah.
what was the award you recently won, and
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, best new MLS reporter, through, Fabian Rankel's, Twitter poll, which I
Let's go, Jillian.
thank
Congrats.
you. Thank you.
Ring
I
the
mean,
bell for everybody watching. Let's see.
yeah, thank you. No, I was, up against some really quality,
Yeah.
competition there too. So, that and I know I was the only, female to, win any of those awards. So, um, you know, I'm I'm glad to see more and more female voices getting out there too.
Right.
So,
And I think that's the other important thing.
mhm.
It is. So, Dave, let's get into it. Briefly, just you've been on the show before, but for those that are new listeners, talk about your background broadcast real quick, just briefly summarizing how you got into covering the Union.
Sure. I've been with the Union since 2016. This is my ninth season with the club, which is really hard to believe. My first job with the Union was to be the TV voice of our then USL affiliate, Bethlehem Steel FC. And in addition to that, I was our pregame, halftime, postgame co host as well. Before that, I had a lot of soccer experience broadcasting several games with the Big Ten Network and also on ESPNU. I also announced a ton of soccer at Indiana University in Bloomington out of the Big Ten, where I went to college. And there I covered the IU men's and women's soccer teams. And likely the first game I ever called or sport I ever called on IU's campus, I believe, was a soccer game on student radio. Then that turned into me working for the athletics department. So I was the type of kid growing up in the Bucks County, Pennsylvania area that I really wanted to be an announcer. I played almost nearly every sport I was a big, I played rec soccer. I didn't play travel soccer, but I played a rec soccer in Northeast Philly for the Bustleton Bengals and then for Council Rock. I played basketball. I played baseball. You guys know I'm a huge tennis player.
Hmm.
I'm probably better now than I was even in my high school days. Of course, I didn't play D1 college tennis at Indiana, but really picked it up competitively. Um, Coming back from school just to have that competitive outlet. And feel like working the U.S. Open every year that I'm getting better and learning some tips from Grand Slam champions is pretty cool. Um, and then just to keep my feet wet outside of soccer, I broadcast college basketball with ESPN. I've called games with ESPN since 2012. So the second year removed from college, I got in with a national network doing college football, college basketball, soccer. I've also called swimming and diving on their air, amongst other track and field recently this year in 2024 in Boston, also in Atlanta for the ACC championships. I've done USA field hockey in your neck of the woods from about 2015 to 2019. So I prided my career on versatility because I thought that could bring me out a long career in this. If one sport didn't work out, I could get in with another. But my ultimate dream, kind of just to, I always go long on on questions, so I apologize for everybody
You're
listening or
fine.
watching. And my ultimate dream was to be the voice of a Philly sports team where I'm from, and also couple that with national TV and or radio experience. And I've grown with the union over time. My roles have changed drastically from when I first got into 16, doing pregame, halftime, and postgame, filling in for JP Dellacamera on TV. Often when he would get called up to Fox or the World Cup, and then when the Apple TV deal hit, I became the union radio announcer, which has been amazing to document every game. Now that we travel on the road, has been terrific for me career wise, with the team wise, just getting to know everybody outside of what you see at training and game days too at home. Being on the road, I think that's really important to help tell stories, just to be around. And I've always prided my career on being around, even when I did student TV at Indiana, or when I hosted Leno's Locker Room, which was a morning announcements, little 5-minute thing in between first and second period at Council Rock South High School in Bucks County, PA, where I would say the bowling North, later today, or the swimming team's going to battle Council Rock North at a rivalry matchup. And it was like a TV broadcast that we had. So I've had this dream. It's still going. There's things I still want to achieve in my career. And there's things that I'm very proud to get to this point, because I've really started from nothing, and I continue to grow and be critical of myself. And but I also gotten to learn as I've matured a little bit. I hope a little bit, is that just to enjoy the journey too. Things might not happen on the time frame you want, and what you want to do, where you are. But I've really enjoyed what I have, and I love being part of the Philadelphia Union, meeting you guys and meeting all our fans, and all the people that I broadcast with over the years, prior broadcast partners, my current broadcast partners, producers I work with. So much has changed, and I know it's been kind of one of those, disappointing years for everybody, but I kind of look at the big picture, and I'm very pleased to still be involved with this great organization.
Right. So I have a question. So you bring up the Apple TV deal, and
Yeah.
we're in year 2 of that. We were talking to Danny a little bit there in the press room on Saturday. What are your overall thoughts going from the first year to the second year? I know we've heard complaints like cutaways. They spend too much time on the cutaways, and then you miss a goal or an action play. But what are your overall thoughts about the second year with Apple TV, and then how can they improve? Because we still say we should have away radio,
Yes, we want to be able to hear you because
on
yeah,
on the radio,
yeah.
because sometimes
That's
I'll be
pretty much the only
honest with
time
you.
we're watching it on TV is when it's an away game and we can't go, you
Yeah,
know?
it's the truth. And it's not just us. It's a lot of people are saying we want to hear Dave, Sebastian, Shannon. We want to hear you guys because sure, if it's a home game and we're stuck at home because we can't make it to the stadium, we can listen to you, but it only makes sense to do it for the away team too.
Yeah, and we were told that road radio was supposed to be included with Apple TV in year 2 of this deal,
Right.
and it didn't happen. Technologically, I don't know what it has to do with the engineers, whether it's a couple wires here and there that they do at home that they can plug in for the road team. It may also have to do, and I don't know this officially, but because every radio team doesn't travel on the road, there's not the continuity there. So that creates a little bit of a problem, I would surmise, although I wouldn't think so if the road radio's there. Just, do whatever you got to do to get
Mhm.
that team on the air. And if they're doing it back home from a studio, find a way for someone to send a signal, put the nat sounds from the TV behind it and make it happen. I don't think it's that complicated. I will say this, that I think, some of my friends are these Apple TV commentators. And, I think talking with a lot of them, they put in a lot of work. It's not easy. I do national broadcasts, with ESPN and with other networks as well. And I can tell you, coming in sometimes blindly, a week before your assignment or a couple days, or even sometimes I've gotten a day before assignment, which I know these Apple folks aren't getting, but then learning about the teams, um, other than names, numbers, bio, all that stuff, goals in this sport, it's tough. And
Yes.
soccer, I will tell you, it's somebody who does call a lot of different sports. Soccer is a very hard game to call, whether you're doing TV or radio, because you're dealing with 10 outfield players and the goalkeeper. But take a team like Columbus, who has the fluidity to go all over the pitch. The guy on the right might not always be Mo Farsi. Yeah, I might know
Mhm.
what Mo Farsi looks like versus Diego Rossi, but it's sometimes with Rossi's running with Ramirez, and I'm speaking of Columbus for those that aren't aware, and they're changing all over. You got to be able to identify them quickly. I feel like that's something I've really improved over time. And look, I recently have done track and field down in Atlanta with, I was preparing for over 300 student athletes for that,
Right.
albeit they were separate individual events. I did the ACC swimming and diving championships a couple years ago in Atlanta. Let me tell you, that was, who's racing in each event, but swimming in each event, but that was really difficult. It's really difficult from, do I follow the monitor? Do I look at the pool? Like there's so many broadcasts, intricacies that people don't know about. And it might come across that I'm picking up or favoring the broadcasters. I know why there's been such frustration with the fans. And look, I was part of our local TV broadcasts for 7 years. I do miss it. I will not sugarcoat it. I miss being, dressed up in a suit. I always loved to dress, and doing our pregame shows above section 113, or a postgame, having fans wait around for an autograph, not for me, but for Sebastian or Shannon late at night, being the last one to leave, which we still are, leaving our radio broadcast and our postgame. It's a long postgame show, which is great. And we take a lot of your questions in the press conference live from Jim, which is even better. And we did pregame shows for the field. We did it once outside on where they do the Subaru Plaza, just outside the stadium, as you guys know, where the press entrance is, outside the team store. And then also doing play by play in that big booth at times over the years,
Mhm.
Mhm.
was a lot of fun on TV. You know, I think, there's monetary reasons why the league went this way. What the Apple product can give you, the no blackouts
Mhm.
for fans. Um, I think in our market, from what I heard over time, over the last couple of years, really since the Union have been one of the best teams since winning the Supporters Shield during the COVID 2020 season, we had terrific ratings locally on PHL 17. Sometimes we'd be on 6 ABC. The crew was outstanding. You touched on the camera shots, Kyle, a moment ago. Yeah, things can get better there. I think our crew in Philly, I can only speak to them. did a fabulous job with that. The men and women on our crew were outstanding. I
Mhm.
know a lot of them personally. I know they cover a lot of not just local teams in Philly, but national stuff a lot. Some of them even recently did the Olympics. They're that good.
Yeah.
Um, so I will say that Apple, if you take a look at their product, and I watch a lot of their broadcasts for prep purposes. It's it's very standardized, right? They're trying to do the same thing covering a Union Columbus game as they're doing El Tráfico out west or a
Right.
Seattle
Mhm.
RSL game, right? So the graphics has a certain look. Maybe the cutaways, like you say, have a
Mhm.
certain look. Their opens might air the same. They don't put the announcers on camera except for their pregame hits, unless it's a really, really big game, right? They don't have this elaborate 3 to 5 minute open as we would have on our local shows, or coming on camera maybe at halftime to start the second half. That just doesn't happen. So it's changed. I feel for the fans that don't follow the Union as much, maybe our casual fans that used
Right.
to turn us on for 5 to 10 minutes. Some may say, yeah, we lost those fans. And look, it's a valid point. It's a fair point.
Hmm.
I would say is I hope, and many have come up to me at Union Yards. Some have written to me online, and I don't know them, but they've been so generous with their comments about how they listen to our radio broadcast, how we're the local conduit to the team, right? And I try to give you some of the stories maybe the national people don't know.
Mhm.
Obviously, I'm going to trend more to being, for our Philadelphia Union to win. I mean, I'm a team employee.
Mhm.
I'm the voice of the team on the radio. I want the team to do well, but also being reacting the same way I know our players do, and our coaches and our staff will. And that's to be honest. As you guys know, in this market, you can't sugarcoat things when times are tough, but
Mhm.
there's a right way to say things. And I think if you're fair and honest, um, I think that's always the best policy, even in a year that has been disappointing this season.
Mhm.
So,
For sure.
um, and so, look, I don't think the Apple deal's going to go away anytime soon. I think they're only going to improve on that product. The
Mhm.
men and women that are involved, that a lot of them, like I said, no, I know them well. Some of them do a lot more national stuff outside of just the Apple and MLS, which would be a heck of a career if that's all they did.
Right.
Mhm.
So I'm still grateful that when that deal went down, that I had a place with the union. Seba and I did radio 2020 MLS is back when the team was in Disney. Seb and I were calling those games. There was no local TV. Everything was on
Mhm.
ESPN. Remember that year?
Yep.
We
Mhm.
did a local radio call from the TV booth in Chester. So I've been doing radio. People probably don't know this too much. I've been radio broadcasts since 2020, albeit not every game, only when the team was on national TV,
Hmm.
including MLS's when the team was on national TV and we didn't have a local TV show, right? So if the game aired on FS1 or
Mhm.
ESPN, whatever the carrier was, Seb and I would do a local broadcast, a local radio broadcast. Uh, and then obviously in 2023, after we said goodbye in 2022 at the end of the year to local TV and the Apple deal hit, things came through doing radio with our partners now 97.5,
Mhm.
and travel came out of that on the road. Me, doing the games, working with our great staff, and so very, very honored, privilege. You both know me very well. I don't take it for
Yeah.
granted. Being that booth, I
Mhm.
prep really hard.
Mhm.
I always strive for that perfect broadcast. I'm not there yet, but I give it my all, and I try to paint that very detailed picture for the radio.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm always wowed by the prep work you put into it for sure. I mean, that's impressive stuff. And, I think we're really lucky to have such a dedicated broadcaster for the union. It's like just Philly in general. We have such good broadcasters. We're really blessed for that. And I respect the dedication that takes. Like I don't know if I could be able to do anything like what you guys do, the keeping up with everything. I mean, soccer's gotta be hard enough. And then like I hear a guy like Jim Jackson with the Flyers. I'm like,
Yep.
how do you keep up with that? But it's just impressive. And I have to say, like, for the Apple TV, I was really glad actually when we had that option because in Lancaster, it was hit or miss with, getting the games because we don't have PHL 17, first of all, on our local
So
cable
you were
here.
in your area, you were blacked out.
Yeah.
We were blacked
We were
out.
in a weird location because you could get it sometimes on the website, um, on the team website, or like,
But
sometimes you
even
get on
then,
TV.
2022, I can give you a hint. I forget what game it was. The Union were down late. It was in 2022, and they were down late. They score, and we're like 10 minutes behind everybody else, and like our chats are going nuts. I'm like,
Oh, yeah, it would lag.
and then like
And
there
the
would be
yeah,
these tense moments, like the game would be over,
and the
and
video quality was not good
the
either.
game's about to be over, and we're like getting these streams, and then it would
It's
just
buffering,
freeze.
buffering.
It
Yeah,
would
yeah.
just freeze, and
Yeah,
so we had to do it that way,
yeah.
or
Just the video quality was not
I
very
yeah.
good
do
either for us.
remember I do remember the union promoting that for those that were blacked out, you could get it on like the union website. Again, I
Yeah.
don't know what the quality was or anything like that. I know when the national deal was with ESPN, it was on ESPN Plus, but there were blackouts with that. So I think that's why this Apple TV thing
Mhm,
came to fruition as well. I think that was a big piece that anybody could watch it wherever you are around the world on any phone, tablet,
mhm,
whatever, right? And that's pretty cool in itself.
mhm,
And you know, I just think the one thing that like kind of I, I think for those that maybe can't afford it or don't want to pay for it, that to
mhm,
me it just stings. Where they're not absorbing the MLS product leading up to the 2026 World Cup because
mhm,
I'm all about
Agreed.
growing the game,
Mhm.
growing our broadcast, growing the brand, and your people got to find it. People got to pay for it. People got to find out how to do it. Maybe some people, and it's not just older folks, not just my parents or anything.
mhm,
Younger people might have a hard time finding out, hey, where is it on Apple, or how do I get it, or who do I talk to get it? So some people might disagree with me there, but I think that adds a wrinkle to it. Everybody's saying streaming, streaming, streaming is the way. I'm a young guy, but I'm a little old school. As I
mhm,
love to consume my live sports on TV.
mhm,
If I'm watching two things at once, my secondary source would be like my iPad or my phone. If I
mhm,
wanted to watch another game, like I think one night I was watching a sports event and I wanted to follow what Columbus was doing in Campiones Cup against Club America. I
Mhm.
think I might have had that on my iPad next to me and then watching something, or vice versa.
mhm.
So that's the cool thing that comes out of all this, the streaming stuff, I guess, is the secondary viewing. But I still think people love watching linear TV or listening to the radio broadcast. I mean, I had the Phillies game because I do a lot of radio with the Union now.
Mhm.
I have the TV on, but I'm listening to Scott Fransky on my
Mm.
phone on XM
Yep.
hearing the local Phillies call. So that's just me. That's my broadcast hat on. But hopefully they add road radio
Mhm.
next year as an option
Yeah.
to put over the picture. I love that they do it at home. And
Mhm.
I'll tell you, talking with a lot of the other my radio colleagues across the league, they hear from their fan bases probably something similar to what you're hearing is that a lot of MLS fans are listening to their local commentators
Correct.
on
Mm.
Apple. For
Yeah.
me, that's awesome to hear from my counterparts, across the league. So hopefully, I'm glad MLS. I want to applaud them for including that option,
Mhm.
and hopefully that will continue.
Yeah, and I know, like, when Apple TV shows, baseball games, they've actually first of all, I love when they do that because it's really great video
Mhm.
quality, but, I know, like, even when the Phillies were the away team, they had the, Phillies broadcast they had Scott Franzke as an option to sync up with the TV, and it was fantastic. I love listening to him, he's
Yeah.
fantastic. Oh, yeah.
I met all the broadcasters. I don't know if you saw the picture on my social media, but when the Union played that game that I really don't want to remember at Soldier Field against Chicago,
Oh,
we
yeah.
went, a few of us went to Wrigley Field to see the Phillies.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I went up to see the Phillies broadcasters, McCarthy,
Mhm.
Fransky, Ruben Amaro was doing the analysis on TV. Kevin Stocker was doing the radio analyst role, and everybody was so nice and welcoming. And they were asking me about how the Union are doing, and so, like you said about the Phillies, the Philadelphia area broadcasters, in addition to the Phillies, um, these are guys that I looked up to too for a very, very long time. I used to impersonate Merrill Reese.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
But, I would say like something like, and you're listening to the Eagles radio network on Free FM 94.1 WIP. And
That's good, Merrill.
So well.
That's so good. That's so good, actually.
What's good? You know, I listen. I used to go to Oxford Valley Mall and the Chamonix Mall radio shows impersonating Merrill Reese, and my buddy would do Mike Quick. And, I love the radio, so I still think radio's the purest form of broadcasting. I'm big on vocabulary and words and taking I'll give you a little behind the scenes. After a game, I get the audio from our station 97.5, and I listen back to most of the game. I compile highlights that sometimes I put on social media of thrilling moments, and not just those moments. I'll listen to how I did in the open, how I was coming out of halftime. How did I describe, instead of saying like, I'll give you an example. Instead of saying for like a corner kick, all right, here's Kai Wagner with a corner in swinger, and it's the goalkeeper Schulte gobbles it up. Am I saying, I could say it like that if it's fast, or if I have time, here's Kai Wagner, shrugs his shoulders, takes a two-step approach, pelts into the ball, plenty of pace on an in-swinger right at Schulte, who grabs it with two hands hat high. See how I'm adding that description?
Correct.
I can't do that every time because things happen really lightning fast, but I kind of, one of the guys I look up to that does a great job, Kevin Harlan, not just on TV, but on radio. And Kevin is very, very descriptive. And
Kevin is the best. Sorry to interrupt, but Kevin's the best. Dolphin fans love him because every time Kevin Harlan calls a game, the Dolphins win. And I listen to Kevin Harlan. I love Kevin. There's this thing on Dolphins Twitter called the Kevin Harlan effect. But anyway, go. I pardon to interrupt you there.
Oh, it's funny when the Raquinho stuff happened during that New York City game where the raccoon went on the field. I had two choices during that game. For those that have no idea what we're talking about, a raccoon, not a cat, not any other animal, was a raccoon, which took me, by the way, thanks to your shirt, right, for that memory. It took me a good, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds to say, oh my God, that's not a cat. That's actually a raccoon, because I was looking at the tail.
Yeah.
And then I said to myself, all right, and I'm on radio, by the way, not TV. So doing the radio, I had a choice. Either I could say, there's a break in the action. There's a raccoon on the field, and we'll take a timeout. Let's get back. We'll come back after this. Or I could just talk about other things. Or I could have fun with the moment and go into kind of like Kevin Harlan does with people that run on the field or streakers and that. Is I can go into full play-by-play mode with this raccoon and just have fun. When does that moment happen? And nothing was going on. In fact, go back and watch the video. You two will know. It seemed like the New York City players were pretty pissed off when this was happening.
They were. And we were all there just like videotaping, like, this is amazing. And
our grounds crew, which were Mark Mello, John Torres, others, were trying to catch this poor thing, and catch it humanely, by the way. And I mean, and I went all out. I had fun with it.
It was a fun moment.
The doors went down off the boards. At one point, it was going towards the 6 and trying to score, and I was imploring it to go in, and it turned around. And they tried to get the trash can, and I kind of had fun with it. And then I had to keep reminding the audience, because it was radio, like, yeah, this is a raccoon on the field. This is what's going on. But I was so excited, and that was without exaggerating, it took about 2 minutes, 2 to 3 minutes. I mean, it seemed like forever. It was probably a lot shorter than that. So what a hilarious moment, as you know, and probably everybody listening to this or watching, it went viral. It not only national, I couldn't believe how viral it went. Not only did it make national, I felt like international stuff was picking it up, and it was making like late night TV. It was making the Today Show, not just like your ESPN, like not top 10 or whatever. It
Mhm.
was making like all these national news
Yeah.
It
programs.
was.
That was so, and the Union brand was involved, which was probably a win-win for everybody.
It was.
So wild moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it was. So we're going to turn our attention to the Columbus match and touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, just your final thoughts on that. I know you gave a lot of your talk, and we talked in post game, but just your final thoughts on that game.
I would say, disappointing that we allowed two set piece goals to the
Mhm.
same players.
Mhm.
Shambo service to Cucho Hernandez. Cucho for me is an MVP candidate, might win the
Correct.
whole thing. He means so much to
Mhm.
that Columbus team. They are a dynamic, fun team to watch. I think I mentioned early on with the fluidity that Wilfred Nancy gives his team and the interchange that they all have and the freedom where those guys could start on the ref, drift into the middle. Like that's how Mo Farsi scored one of the goals off of a rebound, right?
Mhm.
He started the play. If you go back and watch the video of that goal, he starts the play on the right and then comes inside the 18 for the rebound after I
Right.
believe an initial stop by Blake. And he's in the middle and he scores like just besides the penalty spot. And it's not just him; it's others on that team. I will say that the Union though did have some chances.
They
I
did.
think that, and it was awesome to see them score off of the set piece. Right, Elliott,
Mhm.
that there and scored the headers in Orlando. And it was a great sequence there for Nick. One the fortunate um, they just Glenn was fabulous. But I would say it's a very tough team to break down. And I have to tip my hat to Columbus. I
Mhm.
think that the Union gave maximum effort there. I think the team will tell you they wish it went the other direction, right? A win would have been nice, a draw would have been really, really nice. And I could say the
Mhm.
same for Orlando. I think there's some spots in the attack that we saw a lot better at home in recent games. I'm talking even before the 1-1 draw against Atlanta. I'm thinking of the games
Mhm.
where Nashville, the Revolution blossoming. Where I think what
Dave, you're
You're
breaking it up a little bit there.
yeah, it's been kind of a bit.
Yeah.
the final third, and hopefully that will continue.
Yeah. Yeah, you're breaking up there a little bit, but I think we got it
I'm sorry.
there.
I'm sorry if my internet's not great. I apologize to everybody
Oh no,
listening
you're
or watching.
fine. You're fine. You're fine. No,
Yeah.
it's just like it happens, trust me.
Yeah.
Frankie
Oh,
West,
when we had Frankie Westfield on, it kept
he
having to him.
he kept pausing for like 5 minutes, and we're like, oh no.
No, and it was a
but
great interview with him too.
anyway,
Yeah.
no,
So I
that's
don't know
kind of
what you heard from that Columbus synopsis. I would say that very difficult team, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's a team that, in my opinion, is a team to repeat at MLS,
I
winning an
agree.
MLS Cup again. They're that good. They're that deep as well.
They are a well-oiled machine, and Jim said it, and we've all said this post game. They're the team that the Union can strive to be. I mean, I think it's very possible the way they're both set up. Now, Wilfred Nance is a great coach, so is Jim Curtin.
Absolutely.
So having said that, let's talk about this year. I want to ask you, in your opinion, what's going right, what's going wrong? Because for me, and Jim's mentioned this, it's not about scoring goals. I know Jim always says, hey, we're built on defense first. And I get that. But when you look at this team over the last couple years, one of the best attacking teams in MLS. Ty Baribo, ever since we lost Julian, has been a breath of fresh air. Mikel
Sure.
Uwas probably having one of his best statistical
Mhm.
seasons since maybe his MVP season at Brøndby. Daniel Gazdag, 17 league goals, has had a very good season. So you're seeing the emergence of Quinn Sullivan, Jack McGlynn. There's some good things there. Now, the defense, Kai's had good seasons. Nate Harrells continues to improve, but as much as we love Jack and Jacob, Father Time sometimes in the way the Union play, it's been frustrating. And obviously losing Andre Blake for almost over 50% of the games has not helped either.
Yeah, I think that the problems this year for me have been in many areas. I'll start with the lack of continuity of the roster. So guys away for international duty. Andre Blake only played his 12th league game. Recently coming off the abductor, the knee surgery, the groin. He hasn't been healthy all year. And we've seen Elliott and Glesnes, our center backs, take goal kicks as recent as last game. And Blake's away for international duty with Jamaica, right? And hopefully he and the others coming back from international play come back injury free, ready to go for that game against Cincinnati in a couple weeks. So that for me is number one. Number two, I would say, different than previous years, we have been one of the best defensive teams in MLS. For whatever reason this year, well, there's several reasons that we have made individual errors in games where we were leading or we were tied at the moment. And those moments bit us. And there are several games that come to mind. A few of them, the Chicago game, we're up 3-1, 82nd minute, we lose the game. We're up 2-0 against Miami. Leo Alfonso, former Union Academy product, which some people may not remember, scores against Glesnes, gets pulled out. And it's not all people can say. The easy thing for people to say, they can say it's the two center backs maybe not playing at their peak performance. And I think both would tell you, yeah, there's been very tough moments, but it's not just them. I miss Jose Martinez with this team, taking him out, taking Andre out. When Nate was away with the Olympics, but Glenn as well, that hurt. But Jose's been a linchpin in that middle. But there were games where Jose made individual mistakes too.
Correct.
One of them, I believe, that comes to mind was the Seattle game where Rui Diaz strikes in, draws one in from like 40 yards away to the upper left of the Union goalkeeper at the time. And I'm not just trying to single out Jose. What I'm getting at is it's not just maybe the Union center backs or a lapse with maybe Bizo on the right or Jose Martinez. Another one, if Marcus Anderson played Sullivan in the Cincinnati game, where the Union come back not once, not twice, 3 times. They came back on the road against tough Cincinnati, a team that we know very well, right? Of a lot of connections. If Marcus plays that long ball or keeps possession of the ball, does not get dispossessed, we come away with a well-earned draw, but we lose it, and Lucho Acosta scores in the 100th minute in that game. We lost, I think, 11 one-goal games this year. We used to win those games, like the Atlanta game, a couple games, 3 games ago. Lob Janitze scores off from a cross from the back post. He heads it in. In years past, we win that ugly game 1-0. And this year, I would say, so defensively, we have not been ourselves. Offensively, you could say, yeah, there were some games that were scoreless draws or this or that. But the numbers show you that the Union have been one of the top scoring teams in MLS, whether people believe it or not. As Kyle, as you said, the stats are there to back it up.
Right.
But I will say that when you are a team that is maybe short on depth, unlike other teams in MLS, Columbus is a good example. Cincinnati is a good example. Miami is a good example. That definitely has hurt. And I say that because these younger players are thrust into a situation maybe they're not ready for. And, thank goodness for, Ty Baribo to get this playing time after Carranza gets transferred to Feyenoord. And he can show you what what he can do.
Mhm.
And that has been an amazing storyline to come out of this.
Right.
Uh, so we've also, let's just face it, call it what it is. I mean, Kyle, I think you were telling me for the Columbus game, how many points have we dropped from winning positions this year? Is it 25,
Well,
26?
it was something like that. Oh my gosh, we were talking about it too. And now I forget. No, remember we had that whole debate in the press area, and then we went in and dug in.
So there's a
So
lot. So there's a
it
lot.
was 24 because I was looking at Tom Bogart tweet. It was 22, and you guys were like, "Ah, that's a lot." And then we
Mhm.
like went in, we're checking, and it was 22. And then with the Atlanta game, that was 24. So you think about those games. I'll even bring up the Montreal game, the game we were
Yeah.
both out.
Mhm.
That was a game where we had in the bag, or both Montreal games. The second one, Jack Elliott gets a red card on an
Mhm.
unfortunate play.
Mhm.
Obviously not trying to hurt him.
So that
Um,
on Raheem Edwards, and then
yeah,
I think
yeah, yeah, and he busts him up, and Ted Uncle just gave straight red. They
Mhm.
overturned it.
and then they
It was,
score a free kick
yep,
right into that.
yeah. So I think you're right. It's not been necessarily like, oh my gosh, this team's really bad. I hear a lot of fans saying this team's just been extremely frustrating this year because it's always been the comedy of errors.
Mhm.
And we always joke, we've joked as well, as
Mhm.
Jim always likes to say, the margins for error are razor thin. The
Mhm.
margins are razor thin. But he's right because
Mhm.
this year, a lot of those things that, like you said, in past that have gone the
Yeah.
Union's way haven't this year.
So
And
people might forget, Kyle and Jillian, that the Union were the last unbeaten team in the league.
correct.
Yes.
League. Now they did go through CONCACAF Champions Cup play, right? Um, and then kind of, so I think also managing all these games.
Mhm.
Hmm.
It's cool to see the Union and CCC play. They won't be in it next year, right? Losing the third place game of Leagues Cup to Colorado, which kind of was a clunker type of game, right? I think we can say
Mhm.
that. Who knows if the Union deep down want to be in CCC or not? I don't know. Just from the broadcaster perspective, I think it's cool to be in always in international competition for me. But maybe with a roster, and we'll see what it looks like next year. If it's going to be a lot of the same or maybe some different. We'll see how they approach MLS. But I would say also that we allowed this year a litany of early goals in games.
Yeah.
For
Mhm.
Yeah.
example, second minute to um, Alonso Martinez for New York City at home,
Mm,
13th minute, Chloe Diaz. The first league loss, I think I went back and looked and correct me in the postscript of this. I think it was April 27th against RSL at home, which kind of was a wild
Mhm.
game. Andres Gomez scored for them in like the 34th minute. Catrana scored very late in that game, and like after
mm,
the 80th minute for them to beat us 2-1. There was a lot of storyline, and RSL's had a great season around Chicho Arango for them.
right.
And then it just like seemed like we were allowing early goals in games, and then it kind of switched to, oh my goodness, we couldn't close out a game. I remember, being up in Toronto, we had the lead. We didn't win that game. Montreal, it's a 2-2 game up north of the border. They get two late goals by, I think, Yankov and Ruan.
Yep.
Tyson in trouble for whatever reason playing in Montreal. Um, the Chicago game was won. So, you're up 3-1, 82nd minute. You got to come away with that win, especially against a team like Chicago that just, I think, appointed Greg Berhalter, right, as their
Mhm.
Yep.
their new managing director of football. So uh, there were so many moments that we haven't seen in quite some time, probably since I started with the Union. And I think that's what's tough. I think a lot of the fans and a lot of the newer fans who have been, and I'll use the word spoiled. I hate to use that word,
It's a fair
but
point.
Yeah.
it,
It's
it
a very fair point. Sorry to cut you off
yeah,
there, but
you're not, no, you're all good. We've been one of the best MLS teams. It's been amazing.
mhm,
The trajectory of the Union, and I talk with Seba and Shannon about it all the time when they first played for the Union, from what it was like in 2010, 11, 12. And to what the Union have now, facility wise, travel wise, success wise, a trophy in 2020. Some poke fun at, oh, we were 30 seconds away of winning MLS Cup and they blew it. Yeah, it didn't go our way in the end. Things happen. It's sports. But that was an amazing, amazing season. And what that did for the club, of course, we all wanted them to win that game. And of course, we all thought they deserved that game, maybe more
Mhm.
so than Gareth Bale and LAFC, right? But
Mhm.
I think the Union know, yeah, that was a tough
Mhm.
moment. And
Mhm.
but the Union know that they have what it takes to play to that ability, and they have the experience now to get there. Am I saying on tonight's show that the Union are going to get back to MLS Cup this year? Their first objective is they need to beat
Yeah.
Cincinnati and see if
Mhm.
the team can help them. Um, it has not been a championship caliber season like 22, maybe even remnants of even 21 as well. And the supporter shield year in 20, maybe people forget. I did the game on the radio. They lost to New England. New England beat us at our place after we won the supporter shield, where we
Yep.
played them like 6 times that year, which probably
That
was the
was
reason.
that was wild. That
Mhm.
whole year we're like, I remember sitting there watching that game. I'm like, well, Andre Blake's coming back from a hand injury, or it was some weird injury he had, and I'm like, okay, we got Andre back. Let's go. And then it was like, oh, they played him 6 times this year. I think Bruce figured him out.
Mhm.
And lastly, I'll say this year, people will say they don't deserve it in the playoffs, but maybe they might squeak in, or maybe of course they're going to go all out and try to win the game, and they need help, right, from either
Mhm.
DC
Mhm.
to fall, right, and the same thing with Montreal. So hopefully New York City and Charlotte can win those games, and I don't think they everything I've looked up and listened and read, I don't think they rotate because they want a better seeding for the playoffs. So that also factors into decision day where all the games start at the same time. It's really cool and things happen. I will say that, the Union this year, it just has been so different. A lot of the players that are involved with the team now have not experienced what a difficult season as it's been.
Mhm.
There were some bright spots to the year. It's not over yet. It may end on the 19th. It may not. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm biased. I want to see them go to the playoffs. I want to see them play Inter Miami and Messi. We were the better team, by the way,
Mhm.
against Miami in the second half. We didn't win the game, but go back and look up at the numbers and watch
Mhm.
the highlights. We had chances.
We did.
I think
Mhm.
Messi and Suarez scored against us. They were fabulous. But we'll see what happens. But it has been a very trying year, and we just need some help on decision day.
Do you think there's anything, let's say, and again, crazy things can happen. Is there something the union can do during the off season, maybe to look at? Put your GM cap on real quick.
I think that the Union can always get more depth
Okay.
uh,
Mhm.
at every position, and that starts um, with goalkeeper all the way up. We have terrific young players in our in our system, but I want to see players that have experience internationally, have experience in our league, because there's a lot I think that can come from MLS that can help you out as well.
Correct.
And excuse me, and I would like to see the Union also do what people want them to do, and that's maybe spend a little bit, right, with this team.
Mhm.
I think the owners, I think what's also a misconception, because I talk with the Union owners, I think that they're behind the team. They want the team to do well, contrary to what some of these bloggers and naysayers think, or these commenters on social media.
Mhm.
And I think all those things that everybody's talking about online has been talked about, continues to be talked about behind the scenes. And I think as the league is evolving, I think the union organization will continue to evolve. Um, Statistically, just a fact, we've never been the top spending team or the top third in spending in MLS. Um, and I think that if you look at the roster, there are players that make north of $1 million. There's several
Mhm.
of them. There's not just one. Um, and if you look at their numbers, what those players do, actually really pretty good compared to the rest of the league for their position. And there's
Right.
some that are where you could say they're getting a lot more out of than what they're being paid as well. And that to me, from you asked me to put the GM hat, is good business,
Right.
right? So the agent negotiates a better contract. But look, I think the guys would tell you another playmaker would be amazing. Um, depth, depth at every position for me is huge because you play a lot of games, you need to rotate. I know guys don't like sitting on the bench at all, but you need to rotate. Injuries happen that we've seen, even though this year hasn't been like an injury riddled season outside of Andre Blake. Glez is coming off of a surgery. Leon Flock coming off of two surgeries, and they're both playing. But I would like to see the team continue to evolve. I think the organization wants that. I know our fans want that. Um, but I'd lastly say, while I want them to spend and to get new players and the depth that I'm talking about, I will say, having doing my prep work and you're looking at other teams, our roster composition. Okay, let's just take the starting 11 for example.
Right.
Our starting 11 toe to toe against most of the league is really, really good. Some may say, oh, the unit's running the team back, this and that. But you go down the positions and you could plug a guy on our team onto this team and he would likely start. Or he would have a very, very large role on the team.
Gotcha.
And we don't have that Corey Burke, that Alcino player that we've had in the past, right? That came off the bench, that made an impact in the game. You could say that's might be missing this year. There's a lot of things, but the guys that we have, what kind is hair pulling for me at times is as bad as the season has gone at times, and it's happened a lot. Let's just call it what it is.
Right.
Me, it's still hard to believe that the team's in 11th place, but you are what your record says you are, and that's the hand they're dealt. They're in the position because this is the position our club has been in because of all the things we've already documented.
Yep.
So I think, having lastly said that, I do think change will come. I do not think I will assume that the roster will not be the same from whenever the season ends to next year. I think kids will come up from the academy. You will see kids might come up from, I'm calling them kids, young players might come up from Union 2 that you guys cover, get a shot at preseason training camp, into potentially a role or a backup role with the first team. Maybe someone surprises someone. So we'll see. But there's a lot of things I think we want change. But I think we can also say that this has been a very, 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 very trying year. And the Union have had a lot of backbreakers this season. If the ball bounced a different way 3 times, and I'm thinking of several games, the Chicago game, we already hit on them, but Chicago, Miami, others, we wouldn't be having a lot of these conversations about what needs to change, what needs to get better, is the roster stale? A lot of these guys, we should be privileged, are in the prime of their careers with us. And you're going to take a chance on a young, unknown commodity coming in. It's not going to work out right away. It's going to take time. So I hope and pray that maybe this is that year that it's been just we'll see what happens as far as the playoffs go. I would love to call playoff games. Love to call an 8-9 game, one wild card game, and get into the playoffs. Then play Messi. That would be amazing. And Inter Miami. By the way, it's not just Messi. That Inter Miami team has been doing they had a ton of points won without Messi too. Messi's been amazing, obviously, when he's been healthy. But I'm going to give a shout out to them and give them the shield. But we'll see what happens. I go long on every answer, but
no, you're fine.
There's a big wish list, but I'm really happy. The guys that we have, I want people to know are great men. You get to know them personally. I do too.
Yep.
And I just want Union fans to know that they're as disappointed as all the people commenting things that I read on social media or saying this and that. They're as disappointed as everybody. That locker room is dejected after a game, as you all are watching on TV or listening to me on the radio. They wanted it to be better this year. And unfortunately, the bounces didn't go their way.
That's the best answer, because you're right. I mean, we can sit here and nitpick this, and that. I think you're spot on in that changes is going to come.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking ahead to the decision day game, Cincinnati. Yeah, what are your feelings on that? How are we feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm really excited to call it because it's a game of consequence, which is as a play-by-play guy, I think me, I get into it, I get very excited, energetic. I think it's gonna be cool. I'll tell you a little behind the scenes. I think I gotta figure it out. So as I'm doing the Cincinnati Union game, I think I gotta have my iPad on the DC game, and then I have to have my iPhone on the Montreal game, hoping one of those two teams fall. So come on, Charlotte. Come on, New York City. And as crazy as it sounds, DC's on a tear right now. The Priani kid's playing well, but Benteke's the golden leader. Probably will win the Golden Boot this year. It stinks. When you ask me the question, the first feeling is, all right, I got to watch these other games. It stinks that the Union do not control their own destiny. Like a win and you're in, because you have to win the game first. So the Union's job is just got to take care of business in what is going to be a very tough game. Cincinnati, since we played them, I haven't gone really deep on them just yet since losing that big game there 4-3, but they kind of went on a slide a little bit.
So they
also results, but go ahead, Kyle. What have you seen?
They've had 2 wins in the last 11 games. However, they're still the second best team in MLS in road wins.
Right. So,
and they still have Luciano Costa. They still have good players. They still have Pat Noonan, who I will still say was the number 2 to Jim, and that's not a knock on any of his current coaching staff. He has good coach, Ryan, Phil, and Frank. But those 2 were like yin and yang. Jim was the player's coach. Pat was a technician. So, I mean, they know, both coaches know each other very well. So, I think there's some opportunity there for the Union. Like I said on our podcast, this is the kind of game is play loose, just leave it out in the field, and then after 90 minutes, see what happens. But you can't go away from that saying, man, we came out slow, we came out sluggish, we were too tense. Just go out there and go for it.
Yeah, I see. First off, you know the guys, and I think a lot of our fans listening or watching this now, they're going to go all out.
Right.
You're going to get your best 10 outfield players. You're going to get Andre Blake there. You're playing a team that you know very, very well. You're also playing a team that you guys know we beat them in Leagues Cup there. So, there's that. For me, if you're just talking about the game tactically, when I think of Cincinnati, you think of, okay, they've been playing with a back 3, or you can call it a back 5. So it's how do the Union contain the wing backs? Just like they do with Columbus, even though Columbus operates differently than Cincinnati. So that's number 1. Number 2 is how do you stop Lucho Acosta, right? The playmaker. I remember his days, when I was first getting with the Union, when he was flourishing with DC United
Mhm.
as this little guy running in the field. And I remember how great he was back then. Went to Mexico, I believe in Mexico, and then he came back and reemerged with Cincinnati. I think he's been fabulous. So I think, if there's a way to exploit the width, into the channels for a Wagner or Harriel, should they start, that will be key. Sometimes Jim has played a back five or a back three. I'll call it a
Mhm.
back three wing backs against their back three. So will he do that? We haven't done that recently. He would tell you, I think that we're just better in our 4-4-2 diamond. The players know that position. Um, Another thing for me is like Obina Wabodo for me over time has been very, very good in the midfield for them. And
Absolutely.
is that a player that you can that you can have a better time with against? Keep him out of possession. Limit him and his playmaking abilities to string that pass up the spine of the unit defensively. So does that mean whether it's whoever starts on the one side of the diamond to run at him? Is it Daniel Gozdog's role? That for me is key. You know, they've there's no more Bupenza on that team. They still have Kelsey up top. They've added another. You got Yamil Assad.
Mhm.
The Union know them very, very well. I don't expect Pat to rotate much
Mhm.
in that game. So, and if he does make a change, one or two guys, but they're coming off of international duty too, coming off of a loss to Orlando. You mentioned that they've been downtrodden right now. Right now I just pulled up in front of me. They're winless in the last 4 games. They're going for. I don't think they're going to catch Columbus, but they're going for that 3 seed, which they may
Mhm.
already have locked up. Looking at
I
where
think
Orlando,
they locked it up.
yeah,
I
because
do.
they have 6 and Orlando is 52 and fourth. You're right.
Yeah.
So if they have the 3 seed locked up, they can't go for a higher seed. The question is, does he keep his guys fresh? And me knowing Pat a little bit, and we both went to the same college, Indiana, where he was a star player,
Yeah.
and his sister Kelly was like a big athletic administrator I used to travel with when I was announcing the IU volleyball team back in the day. So I kind of know the Noonan family a little bit outside of the Union, which is pretty cool. I still don't see, even if they're locked into the 3 seed guys, easy for me to say from here, but I'll just suggest to everybody, I don't think they rotate heavily
I
or
don't think
rest
they
people.
do either. I think
Mm-mm.
he wants momentum. Sorry to cut you off there, but he wants momentum going into that playoffs.
If anything, he'll play someone 60, 65, 70 minutes
Mhm.
and
Right.
then rotate. But I think he'll see how the game goes. I don't think it's a situation where he's gonna, after Columbus, won
Mhm.
Leagues Cup, they rotated 9 people. I don't think he's rotating 9 players to say you need to go win the game.
No,
No.
no.
So unfortunately, we just need other. That's the sour thing. Is like we need Charlotte, right, to beat DC, or New York City to beat Montreal. New York City, just looking at it on my end, still is in fifth, could contend for the 4 seed, and we'll see there because I know 4-5 is a matchup, but we're
Mhm.
talking about a top 4 home field advantage. Remember, the home field advantage of the top 4 seeds very, very important. The first round,
Mhm.
we go best of
Mhm.
3. If you go to a game 3, that top record does get there.
Mhm.
And Montreal's trying to play right into the playoffs. They haven't qualified yet. They're right now, in ninth. So, we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm hoping one of those teams delivers. What I cringe about is, like, let's say the Union win. Let's just say they have a convincing 3-0 win, 2-0,
Mhm.
and they don't get in. And one
Right.
draws. It's like, damn.
Yeah.
But
It is.
then the argument's going to be made by a lot of your colleagues, probably in the media, is like, and it's probably very fair. Is look at all the games that we talked about already today that cost them.
Mhm.
Yep.
So they're simply they're going to need luck on their side. I think they can win the game, but they're going to need luck with it too. There's absolutely a chance. I've been on that post game set when we were on local TV, and there were teams that were out of the playoffs, kind of like we are now, that didn't get in by the end of our post game show. Um, it can happen. Um, I would love to see it. Just calling the games. I think you guys would love to see it. I think others would love to, but you know, not a crapshoot, but
It's an
it's I
uphill
don't
battle.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
an uphill battle. So
Yeah. Well,
it's
hopefully, yeah.
tough.
Yeah,
it
hopefully
is.
there'll be a good hopefully get a good crowd out there. I hope, you know, everyone's nice and loud and
Cheer them on no
yeah.
matter what happens.
Just
So
tell all
Mhm.
your friends, Sons of Ben, anybody who's not in the Sons of Ben, just fans. But I really hope they, whether this is the last game of the year or we continue on to the playoffs, I hope everybody comes and supports. And um, I hope the place is rocking. When that place is loud and vibrant, and everybody's engaged, as tough as the year has been, um, I just hope that everybody can come together and just enjoy a great early evening. The game's at 6 o'clock, not
Mhm.
7, which is nice. Hopefully will be good weather. Even this year has been bad weather games at home for the most
Yeah.
part. Stunk. But hopefully everybody can just have a good time, and if it, just be with friends and people that we just got to know at the games, and that's how I'm approaching it. Is I'm gonna enjoy it, and
Mhm.
I'm gonna be hoping just like you are that one of those other teams um, pulls out a W, and I can't wait to update everybody probably every passing moment that I look down at my other screens, just following those other games. Um, I think there's still, correct me if I'm wrong, there's still some wild scenario where we start the day in 11th, but we could actually could we get the 8th seed at all as well? I think we can, but
there's
there needs to be some scenarios to help us out because DC and Montreal 40 points, the Union have 37. So if they fall, right, we would be
Mhm.
tied with them on wins. They
right.
Yes.
both we all tied with 10 wins. We have the better goal differential over all of
Correct.
them.
So
Yeah.
yes, that's my understanding now. Uh I'll
I think we
defer
need
to
help
Emily.
with Atlanta. Atlanta's playing Orlando. So we really
Mhm.
need, if we win, we basically need Atlanta to lose or draw. And I believe if DC and Montreal, if I'm looking at it live, if DC and Montreal both lose, and yeah, Atlanta only has 9 wins. They both lose and the Union win. I think we would be in 8th, hosting the wild card game.
Hmm.
That'd be something.
Yeah.
Again, correct me. I apologize if everybody's listening to this live or on playback and saying I'm wrong. That's the way I'm seeing it live right now. So we'll see.
I we'll see. It's
Yeah.
gonna be interesting.
But again,
We
Montreal have to lose. If they draw,
Yeah.
that's because
it's over.
we're separated by 3 points. So and we can only get 3.
Yep.
Yep.
We need one of those two guys to fall. I don't care if we have to go on the road. I just want them. I don't care who they play. They can play DC. They can play Montreal. They can play
Mhm.
Atlanta. It looks like it's one of those 3 teams. So we'll see what happens. But
Yep.
I
We
think they
should
can win against Cincinnati.
we will see for sure. And we're hopefully gonna have something new venture. We're gonna have a friend of ours who covers Cincinnati on our next episode. So we're lining that up. He's got a really cool story. But anyway, Dave, again, this has been a great. I feel like, and I've said this to Todd and Jose, I was like, we should just do at the end of the year one time, just a round table, like go 3 hours on like a weekend afternoon. Cause I think you, Jose, Todd,
Mhm.
all of us could go for like 3 hours and it would be an awesome time. Maybe we'll do it eventually. But Dave, where can people find you?
Yeah, so well, you can listen to our radio broadcasts with our partners, 97.5 The Fanatic, also on Apple TV, choosing the home radio feed. For this game upcoming, I believe, unfortunately, there's a Flyers um, home opener on the 19th. So the game will air on 97.5 HD2 if you have an HD radio in your cars. If you don't, that's okay. We're on 860 AM. If that's not ideal, which AM radio knows these days,
Yeah.
the free 97.5 The Fanatic app gets our feed crystal clear. Just put it on your phone, 97.5 The Fanatic app. You click the Union logo. It's at the top right in the app, and you can hear us as if you're right next to me in the booth. It's really clear. And then another way is if you have an Amazon Alexa, all you can say to the Alexa is, "Hey Alexa," I don't want to say it's too loud because there's one probably right
Yeah,
behind me.
yeah.
Play 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio. Our feed will come right up. Or in this case, it would be a different way to say it. Play Talk Radio 860 AM. Or you can hear us on Apple TV, choosing the home radio feed. There's a lot of ways. You can follow me on social media, on X, Twitter. I still call it Twitter,
Same.
at Leno TV. The same on Instagram as well. And if anybody's listening and watching this that ever sees me out and about, please come up to me and say hello, introduce yourself. I always love talking to new people and hearing how you find our broadcasts or just know of us. And I can't thank you both enough for having me on. It's always a treat to do this with you guys every year. And congratulations on year 2 of this venture for both of you.
Thank
And
you.
keep up the awesome work. And I will see you on decision day, where we will rock out.
We will.
Yes, yes. And
So,
thanks so much again for coming on. And yeah, always a treat.
so this has been one episode of One Team We Agree On.
Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe and leave us comments and follow us on our various social medias. We're on Twitter. I also refuse to call it X. At TOTWAG, on Facebook and Instagram at The One Team We Agree On, our YouTube, oneteamweagreeon.com, and our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. Actually, YouTube is not the .com.
Yep.
It's been a long day.
It has been a long day. But
Yes.
until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
We'll see you at the game.